this book. The title looks great, Paul and Palestinian Judaism. You know, when we say Palestinian Judaism from within Judaism, it refers to the Romaniot Minhag. And so he's got exactly the right term there, which is the first century Romaniot Minhag, which Paul would be part of. But I just wonder whether he has actually even mentioned the Romaniot Minhag. And the same problem here with Hagarism. You know, that's exactly the right term again. Hagerim, the way of the Ger, if you like, and Hagar, of course, as a symbol of the mother of the Gerim, if you like, which is even used by Paul. There is the phrase again. But when I read this book, which I did study, I was really dismayed that they hadn't made a single reference to Gerim and Noahide Judaism. It's like they had got, from an academic perspective, so close, and all the arrows were pointing there, and they sat back and they thought to themselves, well, what could be the name for this gap which everything, all the evidence is pointing to? And they said, well, sort of Hagarism then maybe. So they gave it this name without realizing they were describing something which was already very well known in Judaism. And if only they had studied Judaism, Noahide Judaism, they would have been able to fill that gap that they were trying to explore very completely. But instead they missed it completely. And I'm wondering, I don't know, but I'm wondering if E.P. Sanders has done the same sort of mistake here with Goodreads, whether he's actually, he's worked out that it must be Palestinian Judaism, and then maybe he has got that gap, and through sheer logic has thought, well, there you go, Palestinian Judaism. But I don't know, since I haven't read it, I'd be interested in anybody else who has read this, to say, does he mention Romaniot Judaism, first century Hasmonean Minhag? Does he mention the Minhag? If not, what a tragedy. Same sort of mistake as the Hagarism there. And therefore, really, you know, you can deal with these sort of academics, but if you really want to know what's going on, you do have to do what Jesus Nazareth tells you to do and obey the Pharisees, and to look, even here in Romans, you know, when he's saying, you know, what is the advantage of the do? What do Jews have to be proud of, really? And that is that, you know, we hold the oracles of God, and that is the sort of thing which is discussed in Harvey Falk's book. You get a lot of the oracles there, making sense of the whole picture. And I think that that's really, you know, what's got to be focused on. Let's not think that when Paul is talking about this, that there is anything else that he's speaking about other than essentially Pharisaical Judaism is the answer. That's his position. He's a Pharisee. He never says I was a Pharisee or I used to be a Pharisee. He says I'm a Pharisee. He says it several times. Even at the end, when he's in the book of Acts, he's standing in front of the Pharisees and he says, brothers. You know, he refers to them as brothers. I'm a Pharisee just like you, he says. So he's promoting his view. And that is that it's the religion that we have to offer, which is the special thing, and nothing else that we have is special about us. If we want to claim to be special, then it's because of the oracles with which we have been entrusted, and not because of some special DNA which makes us unique. That is what the circumcision is all about. It's not about anything else. And if you're not focused on that, then you're in trouble. So now that he goes on and he says, but of course, basically he recognizes that there is something wrong, and you know, unrighteousness is prevalent amongst ethnic Jews who are not knowledgeable of or even holding on to the oracles of God, but they have access to the oracles of God. And he makes it very clear that, yes, well, there's nobody who is justified. But this is the thing, you know, if through the law we have knowledge of sin, it's also like a good thing. If you don't know what sin is, you could go on sinning all the time without realizing that there was anything wrong with what you were doing. People who've been brought up in, say, for example, the abortion culture might think there's nothing wrong with abortion at all whatsoever, until you point out and say, do you know you're killing a baby? Do you realize what you're doing? It's not right. It's murder. And they might have had all the other arguments or heard all the other arguments, and they've never really considered this because it was never presented to them as a sin, for example. Does that mean that it's wrong? You shouldn't have talked to them about them, allow them to keep on going killing babies? No, of course you shouldn't allow them to keep on going on blindly committing the sins. You have to let them know. But once they know, then they have a choice. And that's really what's going on here with this passage. You know, everybody is guilty. Everybody's committing the sin. Now that you know that you're sinning, what are you going to do about it? That's really, I think, what he's getting at here.
Yeah, that's why we love to use this as we begin our evangelism. Obviously, there's a